Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and I recently finished Silksong, and then I felt like doing a little lower video, focusing on on the fourth final boss, Grandmother Silk, and all of her daughters. And this is all just observation based on all of the little lore details, combining both the old game and the details from the new game. So for starters, grandmother silk. She has it's established in the game that her silk gives life. You know, like heals people and extends their life force beyond their natural lifespans. But she also has the ability to take the life from others and to reforge it. So with her ability to give life and take life away, it's no wonder that the little bugs from Pharloom worship her as a god. And it's established that she's a weaver type of spider lady. And as established in the first Hollow Knight, the weavers had fertility problems. There were probably a bunch of like inbreeds or something, cause like in the Hornet flashback, the weavers were like, prove to us that you're more weaver than worm. But then since the Weaver Queen Herrah was having a hard time like producing a kid or something, you know, like Hornet and stuff, she ended up for being doing hybridizing with the Worm Queen with the Worm King, the Pale King, in order to like produce Hornet. So anyhow, so it's established that grandmother silk, since she can't have children the natural way, she's probably because she probably is it's not a fertile weaver type of person. Because it's like the irony, she can like it's the tragic irony of her character. She can like give life and take life, but she can't have a child of her own. While all of the other bugs in Parloon can reproduce like the bugs that they are. So you know. So Natalie, she's like very bitter about it, and she wants to have a kid. So since she can have it the natural way, she just decides to make one. That's why her castle is full with a bunch of robots and like automatons and stuff, which is like she making a child, you know, using like her magic and stuff. Okay, like her first attempt at making a child is Eva, which is Eve, which was the first human woman that was created in like the Catholic Bible sense. So since it's like the first child prototype that the grandmother Silk made, it makes sense that she will be called Eva. You know, like and then in her lore, they said that she was a mimicry of divinity born to frail. So yeah, she made a kid, but it was too weak, and then he had to be constantly like on life support. That's why she can't leave like the chamber where she was created. But it's interesting that there's a lot of like in this game, there's a lot of like twin references. So maybe what she was trying to make was an Adam and Eve type of thing in order to like save her bloodline, or maybe she wanted to have two children or twins in this case because maybe she had a twin sibling or something, and then maybe she like absorbed her power in order to become like Grand Queen or something. But this is just speculation. The point is that here's Fragile Eva, and then in the polar extreme is the first sinner, and then the first sinner shows how the weavers are made, or even just the process of how she makes of how grandmother still makes children. That she got a little weaver, a small little weaver, and then she infused a lot of her silk in order to make it evolve into like a second weaver stage. But as shown by but the first scene you find her like locked away, and like she's locked away Hollow Knight style. Like if you play the first game, you remember that like the Hollow Knight was like seal the wave, and then you have to like break all of the bindings in order to get at her. So like the first sinner was like seal the way, and was like the other way because that's in the slab is where the queen throws all of the ones who sin against her. And what does she consider sin as disobedience? So So probably the first sinner is the first one that like rebelled against the tyranny of like the Weaver Queen Mother, and then she sealed away the first sinner, despite the fact that it was her second flesh and blood daughter. So what I think, like Eva was she made them in pair. One came out extremely weak, while the other child, the first sinner, came out extremely strong but disobedient. So since the Weaver Queen has a God complex, the only thing she accepts out of her children or her followers is absolute and utter devotion. So since one was too weak to play and the other one was disobedient, she'd be like, well, and this first batch of children didn't come out right, but I'll try again. So then, as establishing like her throne room, in order to make her children, she takes like the silk or the life force from other weavers. And even Hornet was gonna share that similar fate until she escaped. All right, so this brings to light the next batch of children. Here we have Phantom and Lace, and both of them are the second set of children that the Weaver Queen tried to make. Like in Phantom's room, there's a mirror that when you look at it and you play like the silly little harp, you see a flashback between Lacey and her sister, where they're complaining about why the hell did her mother create that? Was it just to suffer? So then, this next batch of children, after like fooling around with them, she grew bored, and then she discarded them. So then, she went to get another sacrifice and then she be like, the next batch of children is gonna come out great. Are gonna come out perfect. Cause now she has more practice creating children line. Like it's not very obvious, just it's not very obvious in battle wise that, but the both Lace and Phantom are like mirror twin images of each other, because the character design, the way that Phantom fights is very similar to Lace. And then at Lace, eventually she learns the parry ability that her sister have after you defeat Phantom. So if you fight both of bosses together, even without finding the hidden lore detail, you discover that they're related and they're twin mirror images of each other. While one is like pale and light, the other one it's almost like the Shivinite version, where he gets like his little ghost form whenever like he drops dead and stuff. And this one also doesn't seem like she uses a type of mask, while the Phantom sister, which is also a reference to like the Phantom of the Opera, uses a mask. And they both giggle a lot whenever they're like about to like rip you a new one. So since they're both giggly types, they're like those are like the story, and even like their character sprites, you see that their body types are very similar to one another. It said that her outfit is more like shredded apart and stuff, while hers is more lacy and is more clean and stuff. Well, one uses a spear and the other one. So yeah, Phantom and Lace are like the next set of prototypes that she made. 100%. I think this one was made purely of lace, while Phantom seems that she was experimenting, making children out of the void. So in like Act 3, you discover that the void is also there in the kingdom of Pharloom. So perhaps she also experimented creating a child a la Hollow Knight style, and then for some reason she grew tired of them, because that shows how the grandmother silk is like, for like as shown by a lot of her subjects in her castle, that they're like a lot of them are clockworks. Perhaps she like one of those toddlers that she plays with her toys and then she be like, now I'm bored with them. Now time for the next new thing. So then in this experiment, where she created life without using any raw ingredients, just using silk and void, since this didn't create her ideal perfect children, then she went to try her next experiment. which is to make a child complete that doesn't have any weaver, that doesn't have any silk. Just taking their life force and reforging it into her idea of a perfect, obedient child. So then that led to the creation of like the Cockart Dancers. Here, right over here, that she took the life force of one of the Clover princes in order to create her perfect children. Oh, and what ended up happening is that what she created was just a machine that doesn't have any will or life of its own. Like perfectly 100% obedient, that does exactly what she called it has to do. But since she eventually went after Hornet, it'd be like, well, a perfectly obedient puppet is not like fun. So then it came time for her to like make a different, more perfect child. Well, as for the Great Prince itself, like they had a conjoined heart, so perhaps the reason why one of the twins was very devoted to the queen was that she probably used her silk in order to separate the twins that had had a conjoined heart. So like their natural form, how they were born, is the reason why they look like they're dancing is because they were conjoined at the heart. So then probably in the past, grandmother still like this surgery and split them in half, and then that allowed them to live independent life. So while this one was hyper devoted to like the queen that gave him the freedom from his brother that he wanted, this one was slightly resentful and also fearful of like Natalie was like this so powerful goddess that had like the power over life and death. So then the next batch of children was a failure. Going outside the mode of not using like she went back to using biological components in order to try to create children. So then she thought, oh, what if I just use half and half? So then the next batch of people that she started stealing were hybrids, like Hornet, that she was half weaver, half worm. And it's interesting that this and that in the bad, what I consider the bad ending, Hornet becomes a weaver queen, and then while in the cocoon she metamorphs and she loses everything from the hollowness, which is kind of sad, cause like, yeah, she technically becomes queen and that's like good and whatever, but in the past she became but because of she absorbing the Weaver Queen's power, she won the fight, but she ended up losing herself in the progress because she became what the Weaver Queen wanted, the perfect child that she wanted in order to like her idea of a perfect successor. So then Hornet ends up losing so then if you like follow the normal path of the game, you become the perfect child that the weaver that the grandmother Silk wanted. So, yeah, doing this, you let the bad guy win. So then this brings me to my next theory as to there's two ways to read the name of the final boss. You can read it as Grandmother Silk, or you can read it as Grandmother Silk, your grandma Silk. And perhaps Herrah was probably like a child of like the grandmother Silk, so then maybe Hornet is like the granddaughter of grandmother Silk, which would explain how that woman was able to track down Hornet at the other side of the planet, because probably her first child, she didn't want to inherit her kingdom of Pharloom, so then Herrah just left her mother in order to establish her own kingdom in Hallownest. And we know that the Pale King, he got like the weavers from another kingdom, and then he paid them in order to like make their fancy cloaks that the Hollow Knight here is wearing. All of their fancy outfits were made by like the weavers. So perhaps grandmother Seal's true flesh and blood daughter was Herrah, and then since she was so into like being like a goddess in politics, she neglected her daughters. But then once her position as like a god queen was like 100% settled down, she suddenly found herself I got so much power and no one to share it with. So then, since with her victory came boredom, she felt like suddenly becoming a mother again. So then, gotta try. But then, obviously, since she was like old and ancient, she was no longer like a fertile spider woman. So then, gotta make children like through weird alchemy or just kidnap the grandchildren and in order to morph them into like my perfect weaver queen daughter. Oh yeah, that's just all of the crazy lore ideas that I have based on like the gaming details. I hope this helps you understand the world of the Hollow Knight Silksong a little better. Bye bye and God bless.